I couldn't figure out talking about listen, so good. I really, you know, whatever child you thought. I was like, never considered even.
Hello. Hi, Ed.
Yeah, I mean, what's
Hi, Ed.
Hello, Mario. How are you? How was Yontif?
Good. Too much to eat.
Now you're gonna pay it off.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So where are we now? Should
We
be
are in 62, really.
how is it? 62?
62.
Hey,
Okay. Oh, Jorge.
Buenas noches.
Buenas noches. ¿Qué tal?
Baruch Hashem, bien. Me he mantenido al tanto.
Buenas noches.
Good night. That's just
Good
for you,
evening.
Ernie.
Good evening. Good night would be saying goodbye.
I said I better show my face. You guys are going to forget who I am.
Yeah, who are you?
That's right. Bum, ba-dum, bum.
62.
Okay. We are on the bottom of Samach Aleph Amud Bey, 61b on the bottom. On Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak, my time and Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer said that when you pay interest, Beis Din will force the one who collected the interest to return it to the guy who paid the interest. It was a machlokes. Some said you don't get the interest back.
Oh, what the?
And Rabbi Lozer said you get the interest back. The interest that someone paid is paid back. Why? Damar krov v'chei achicha imach. You shall live with your brother. Return it to him so he can live. Now, Rabbi Yochanan learned that when you pay interest, Beis Din is not empowered to have the interest that was paid returned. The lender keeps the interest. So what does Rav Yochanan do with the pasuk v'chei achicha imach ma'avidle? Miboy lelecha detanya. He uses it for the following halacha. Shnaim shayu malachim bader. Two people are walking in a desert. V'yad mehem kiton shamayim. One of them is in possession of a canteen of water. And they calculated im shoysin shneim mesim. If they divide up the water between the two, both will die. Im shosa echad mehem magil yishuv. If one of them drinks all the water, at least one of them will survive. Dorsh ben betur mutav sheyishtu shneim v'yamusu. V'ayir echad mehem b'mitzvah shel chaveiro. They should both drink, even though they're going to die. And the one person, if he stayed alive, shouldn't see the death of his friend. Ad shebara v'kiva v'limet v'chei achicha imach chayecha koid min l'chayei chaverecha. Your life takes precedence. This is a very important principle in medical ethics, in Jewish halacha, as it relates to medicine, in many examples. And we paskin like that, that if you're in a desert and they calculate that they can't survive, the one that has the water, his life takes precedence, and he should drink and he should live. Meisvei. On this concept that the ribis is not returned, we ask a kasha. Hiniach lehem avia moishel ribis. A father has died, he's left an estate to the Yorshim. In that is known ribis that was collected by the father. Aval b'sheyoidim she'ein shel ribis, even though the sons know that it's ribis, eino chayovin lachzira. They, the Yisomim, there's a special kula for them. They don't have to return. But ha'avien, if the father was alive, chayav lachzira, he would be required to return it. This is a kasha Rabbi Yochanan who said, you don't return it. So the Gemara says, "B'din davun nami lo machayev la'asir." Really, the father also doesn't have the requirement to return it. I did a kaboila mishnah seifa. There's a seifa that's going to occur later on in the Mishnah. That hiniach lehem avian para v'talis v'chol davar mesuyim. Let's say the father was paid interest on something that was not money, but something that's identifiable, like a cow or a garment or anything stolen. Chayav and lahachzi. The Yisomim have to return that. It has to do with covet for the father, because people will say every time, "Oh, that's the cow that Chaim Yankel stole or took as payment for ribis," and it lacks covet for the father. So, because of the Seifa Tanami Reisha, also the Reisha B'didu, we talked about the Yisomim, but Lav Dafka, that the father also, when it comes to ribis that was collected, would not have to return it. Freit the Gemara, would they be mechayiv to return because of covet the father? What kind of covet here? Kori kan v'nasi ba'amcha lo sa'or. Somebody who's a tzaddik, so you're not allowed to curse. Ba'oisa ma'isa amch. But the father, if he took interest or he's a Goslin, then he's a Rasha. So why would the children have to have covered Aviv? So Kedam Rav Pinchas, Mishmei de Rava, Mishasa Tshuva. Yeah, he was a Rasha, but he did Tshuva. So the Mechayiv and covered Aviv because he did Tshuva. Chanami B'shasa Tshuva. Yasa Tshuva, my boy Gavei. Well, if he's about Tshuva, why does he have this item that was stolen? He should have given it back. Shalo Hispik Lachzrat Shemes. He was trying to give it back and he died. Meisvei. Hagazlonim umave ribis. Avapi shagavu machzir. Now, a gazlan or somebody who collected ribis, even though they collected it already, they have to return it. Now, first of all, the word gevia, collect, gazlanim, avapi shagavu ikka, what kind of gazlanim don't collect? Igazul, if he stole it, gazul. Ilo gazul, why are you calling him gazlanim? Correctly, you call him a gazlan? Ela ema, you have to learn the baraisa gazlanim and my niu malve ribis. I mean, somebody who loans beribis is a gazlan. He's taking money that doesn't belong to him. You're not allowed to collect ribis. You give somebody $100, you're supposed to get $100 back. If you get any more, it's money that doesn't belong to you. We learned that extensively the last few days. It's compared to Gezel and Onah. So here the Bryce is saying, Gazlanim, and who are we talking about? People who loan beribis. Afal Pisha Gavut. There may be one thing where they have a star that documents a loan where interest is going to be paid. But maybe it hasn't been paid yet. But the Bryce is telling us, even if it was paid, you have to return it. So this goes against what Rabbi Yochanan was learning, that we don't return ribis that was collected. Here it seems that you're machzirin. So the Gemara says this issue is tanoihi. Is a machlokes tanoim. The Tan Rab Nechem Rab Eliezer ben Yaakov Poitrin as a malvev as a arev. Somebody who loaned money with interest, and somebody co-signed on the note. They pater them from malchus. Even though it says it's lo sashich, there's a lav. Why? Just like a gzela, it says v'heshiv v'sagzela. There's a mitzvah say to return that which you stole. So that's a lav hanitik laseh. That's a lav where there's an aseh connected to it. Such a lav, there's no malchus. Similarly here, by interest, there's no malchus because you can rectify the problem by returning. And the Gemara understands, what does it mean by my kumasei lav mishum damina lukumu aduru? Because we tell them to return the interest. And Michlal, the Tanakama server, lav ne'adurinu, and the Tanakama against Rav Nachman holds that you don't have to return it. So that's a machlokes tanoim. Versus lo. Don't learn that the kumasei means return the ribis. Kumasei means likro shtara. You wrote a star. In the star is written ribis. So you have a mitzvah to tear up the star. So the Gemara doesn't understand. Mike Sover. If once you write a star, it's as if the terms in the star have been fulfilled. So ha'avdu yisrayu. So they're already just writing the star created the isser. Tearing it up is not going to solve anything. Now, if a star lav kagavui dami, if a star just because you have it doesn't mean that anything's collected. So he hasn't violated anything yet. And also by tearing up the star doesn't do anything. He hasn't done an Aveira until he actually collects the ribis. and therefore the Kriyas Shtar is also not going to help. So Lo'ilim Ksover Shtar Milagavas Lavka Gavudan. In fact, a star that is written, it's not viewed as if it's already collected. What are we learning? Kamash Blan the Shuma Milsihi. The concept that they went and they estimated the value of the loan, how much interest, that's the Shuma, and it's written in the star that has Metzias to actually impact the halacha. Chanami mistavra, Isnan, elu oivrim below sase. The following usual suspects are over the lav of ribis, of course the malveh, the lender, the loveh, the borrower who pays the interest, ha'ore, the cosigner of such a note, ve'ha'edim. Now, bishma kulu ovad maisa. Everybody did a maisa. Ela edim by ovad. I mean, what did the edim do? Elalav shmamin the shuma milsi. They were part of the estimation of the value, and the edim are therefore a partner in the avera. Without them, there would have been no shuma. Shmamin know that that's correct. The halach is that we do not give malchus because of the ability to return the ribis. Ribis katsutsa, ribis deraisa, we paskin is returned. Dayanim will force the ribis to be returned. A malva is over in 6 lavim. A love, the borrower, is over in 2 lavim. The oriv and the edim are over in 1 lav. Somebody who's Messiah, who helps, is over lifnei ever. So there are potentially many lavim involved in the prohibition of ribis. Amrav Safra. So according to the opinion that Bezdin will force the ribis that was paid to go back, there are some gedorim, there are some criteria. Kol she'ilu b'dineihem motziim milov el malveh. If in Goyish courts, and they are not prohibited to do loans with interest, and they would force the lovet to pay the malveh the interest, b'dineinu, in our courts, machzirin mi malveh lo lovet. If the lovet actually paid interest, we force the malveh to pay it back. Kol she'ilu b'dineim ein motziim mi lovet lo malveh. Let's say even in the Goyish courts, the agreement was not clear, and they would not force the borrower to pay anything. So b'dineinu in our courts, ein machzir malveh lo lovet. Such, if the lovet paid something, we would not force the malveh to return it. Amar Rabbi Rav Yosef, uklalahu. Is this rule a general rule? I'll show you that it's not. V'harei saw b'saw. You go to your neighbor to borrow a cup of flour, and you and you say, "I'll give it back to you in 2 weeks." And in 2 weeks, flour is not worth $5, it's worth $10. So you as the borrower are giving the guy who lent it to you something more valuable because the price went up. So that is not ribis minat Torah, but it's avak ribis. Unless we'll see you already have flour. But if you didn't have flour, saw b'saw would be prohibited. Now, now, In a Goyish court, they would have no problem with the fact that he gave you a cup of flour, you owe him back a cup of flour more. It's worth more money. That's none of the Goyim don't care about that. So, uvedinenu ain't masrimi malvilolov. But when we stipulated that interest gets returned, that's only ribis min Torah, not ribis midrabanan. And loaning, the prohibition of saw b'saw is only rabbinic. And so it doesn't follow the rule that anything that the Goyim allow, we should not allow. We should force it to be returned. Amr lei inu, you should understand, in that case, the Goyim, they don't see it as a loan. It's b'toras pikodin asaliyode. He gave you some flour to wash, and you give him back other flour later on. And it's not really considered a loan. It's return of a deposit. That's how the Gemara answers. Amar Ravina Rav Ashi. Vare mashkanta b'lo nechiyasa. Okay. So somebody gives Chaim Yankel a $1,000 loan. Chaim Yankel, as collateral, gives the lender a field which has payros. Now we're going to learn in Jewish law, you have to, if the lender is allowed to eat payros for the 6 months until Chaim Yankel pays back the $1,000 note, so the lender is going to get $1,000 plus all the payros he ate. That's going to be viewed as ribis. He got more back than what he lent. So, if they don't deduct the payrolls from the original loan, and that's ribis, now, in Goyish court, they don't have a problem with that. They would allow the lova to pay it to the malva. And uvedinenu ein machzimi malva lelova. And also, in our courts, we don't do it because it wasn't ribis katsutsa is, I'm loaning you $1,000, you must pay me 5% every month. It's hard interest. There's no way out of it. So that's asr min Torah. Everything else is midrabban. And here, we don't know for sure that fruit is going to grow. We don't know there's going to be fruit there. It's not for sure. And it wasn't set up exactly any kind of terms, how much fruit he's going to eat. So it's only avak ribis. And we also don't return that. So we have two cases where even though in Goyish court they allow it, we should, based on the rule that we were told, the Dayanim in Jewish court should force return. The Amar Lei Inu, again, they answer that the Goyim, when there's a loan with a piece of land as collateral, they don't see that as a loan. That's B'Torah Zvini Osli Adayim. It's like they sold it's as if the lender bought the field for a short time. And later on, he's going to sell it back when he gets the money. And it's not viewed as a loan. That's why it doesn't violate the rule that was elucidated. So if that's so, Elakolshi, it'll be Dineyen, the Kol Rav Safra. So Rav Safra said a rule. Anything in their law where they allow it to be paid, we reverse it. But then if there's no case, Maya Salishmuina, there's no case where it works. So what we're being taught is whenever in their courts they allow a borrower to pay it, That's upfront ribbis. I'm loaning you $1,000, you gotta pay me 5%. That, it'll be a return, like Rabbi Lezer learned. Kol she'ilu b'dineim ein motzim. If in the Goyish court, they can't force a lover to pay those things, but in anyway, that in our courts, we don't force a mother to return it. What's an example of that? For example, ribis mukdemes. Chaim Yankel needs $1,000 loan. So to get it, he gives the lender a tip. He gives him a turkey. That's called ribis mukdemes. He gives him something before the loan is made to induce him to make the loan. Now that's only rabbinic ribis. And that our courts don't have the power to reverse. And ribis mu'cheres. He makes a loan of $1,000 and he returns $1,000, but he gives him a matana. He buys him a nice Rolex watch. Let's say it's $100,000. Let's say it's $1 million loan. And he really needed it. And they didn't declare that there would be interest, but he gave him a matana at the end of the loan. That's called ribis mucheres. And therefore, Bezdin doesn't have the power to cause the mother to return either the turkey that was given before or the Rolex that was given afterwards. Yes,
the case before seems a little strange, since when do we listen to Goyish courts? The whole point is we're not supposed to be like the Goyish courts. So now you're telling us you're learning halacha out from the Goyish courts because they don't do it.
The opposite, meaning the opposite.
Right.
What they allow, we prohibit.
Right. So where did Gemara?
So then they brought rayas where they allow it, yet we don't cause the money to return. So the Gemara had to answer in both cases. It's not really a loan. They view it as a business deal or something like that. So it doesn't break that.
But they learned it out from the Goyish. It's very strange. They learned it out from there.
No, it didn't learn it out. It gave us, it's a
when the Goyish courts do that, so then we hold.
We do the opposite.
No, but they said the Gemara said we do it.
No, we do the opposite. Meaning when the Goyish court allows the lover to pay interest. So in our courts, we force the malva to return the interest. That it's a criteria. It's allow us to remember laws. And that's, we weren't learning it from it. We learned it from the Torah. Okay. Now, the Mishnah described a case. Had a very complicated case that the Gemara is going to spend a while to try to figure out exactly what's the case. The case was a person would come to a grocer and give him a golden dinner, which was worth 25. A golden dinner is worth 25 silver dinners. And by giving him that payment up front, he would be sold wheat all year. Even though the price of wheat fluctuates and could go up. And then the Mishnah said, when he comes to get his wheat, he says, I don't want the wheat, I want the wine for the vow. That's what the Mishnah said. And the Chen Ashar. And a market price had been set. So freight the Gemara, and then the Mishnah said makes a difference whether he has wine or doesn't have wine. What does it make a difference? He has wine, doesn't have wine. Batanya. Ein poiskin ala peiros ad sheyetze ashar. To do this deal where you prepay a grocer to provide him with potatoes or onions for a whole year. You can only do that in Jewish law once a market price has been set. Depending on the seasons and when the harvests were, prices were fluctuating. Is the, what do you call it? Demand determines the price. There's a lot, there's not a lot. So once a price is determined, then any seller can get it from somewhere else at that price. And there's less of a fear that I gave $25 worth of wheat. In the end, I'm going to get $30. There's going to be ribbis involved once the price has been set. Yotzo Hashar. So if there's no price set, you can't do this. Yotzo Hashar Poiskin. And even though the seller doesn't have the wheat or the wine, once there's a market price, there's tons of produce out there. And he can buy it anywhere for any price, for that price. Once there's a shar. So it's not considered alvo beribis. So what does it make a difference whether he has the wine or doesn't have the wine? So Omer Rabbah, you have to understand, says Rabbah, Masnisan, our mission is talking about a case, Biba lochav bidmei maskina. If the borrower had wine, he would make a kinyan with that wine when they made the original deal. And it was a real sale. When he doesn't have wine, that it wasn't really a purchase. And so when the lender wants his, the money value that he was going to get wheat instead to buy wine, and the seller basically is committing to give him that certain amount of wine at a higher price, even though he doesn't have it. Kiritanya, Aresha Enosh B'Chaver Amana. Ruvain is trying to collect $100 that Shimon owes him. V'halach v'amad al goyrono. He goes to his silo, to Shimon's silo v'omerlo. Tainli ma'oisi. Give me back the money I lent you. Shani rotzeli kach b'emchit. I want to buy wheat. Omerlo chitim yeshli. I have wheat in my silo, and I'll give that to you as a payment for the $100 I owe you. Shani noisim l'cha. Say va'aseh alai. Figure out how many bushels of wheat I have to give you. Kishar shalachshav. Based on the current market price. Vani elecha kol 12 chodesh. And I'll provide you over the next 12 months with the wheat at that price. That's usher. The lav ki saraboli de dmei. It's not like he was given any money at this time. He wasn't even given a grosh to the malv. So there's no sale. It's more like a loan, and then there would be ribbis. Amar la Abaya. Why does it make a difference? Madua einlo, filu yeshlo. Nami. Even if he had wine, what's the name he didn't have? It would still be ribbis because he didn't do it. He didn't give any money at the time of this transaction. So again, we don't understand the technical detail of this strange case.
Let me ask you
that the Mishnah discussed.
This is a forward contract.
Forward contract.
So are you not allowed to do, I wonder what the halacha is, are you not allowed to do a forward contract with a Jewish person?
There's going to be terms, there's going to be criteria that allows you to do it. And we will learn that. You're allowed to do, there will be terms that will allow you to do a forward contract.
Would you have to write ahead to Iske or something?
No, we'll see. It depends on the, we'll see what the terms are.
Okay.
We're not quite there yet. Now, first we have to figure out exactly what the details of the case of the Mishnah is. Amar Abaya, Masnisin Kitatani Rav Safra, Beribis. In the Bay Rav Chia. In the Yeshiva Rav Chia, they learned the following case of ribs. Yesh dvarim shemu tarim. There are some things that minat Torah they're permitted. Aval asurin mipnei aromas ribis. It looks like ribis, so we prohibit it. Ketzah. Amar alveni mona. Reuven says to Shimon, loan me $100. Amar mona ainli. Shimon says, I don't have $100. Chitten b'mona yeshli, shani noslo. But I have wheat. I'm prepared to give you wheat worth $100. Not to lo chitten b'mona, give him $100 worth of wheat. V'chazer v'lochon himenu. He went ahead, bought him back from him, be'esrim v'arba sela, which is 96 dinarim. You hear what happened? Instead of the $100, it was $96 that he paid it. Harei mutter. It was like a double sale, but also because it looks lasos came in the aromas ribis. It looks like ribis. It looked like he gave the guy a little benefit, $4 benefit for giving him the money, and it wasn't really a true sale. So it's like it's a harama, it's a trick, and it looks false, and therefore we don't allow it. Hachanami, so in our Mishnah, Abai explains, it was a case where he requested a loan of 30 dinar. V'amarlo shloshim dinarim. I don't have 30 dinar, but chitten b'shloshim dinarim yeshli. But I have wheat that are worth 30. And shani noisen l'cha. And then nasan lo chitten b'shloshim dinar. He gave him the 30. He gave him the wheat worth 30 dinar. But v'chazav v'lachem imenu b'dinar zav. A dinar zav is only 25 dinar. He went and gave him money 25. So he benefited by 5. Now here's the criteria. He is lechamra, and eventually it was going to be switched to wine. He is lechamra love. If the borrower has wine, the yavlo b'shloshim dinner, the one who gave him the 30 dinner. So peru de koshakamine. Then basically he just took produce, veleslanba, and there's no iseribis. The ilo, if he doesn't have wine, even the lesle chamra, udi imashkol zuzimine, basically just took money, mechzik ribis, it looks like ribis. Amarle Rava. Rava disagrees with Abaye. Ihachi, the language of our Mishnah doesn't make sense. Because our Mishnah said, Tainli chiti, and according to the way you're learning, the mechiti miboilish, it should be the money of the chitim mentioned in the Mishnah. So the Gemara says to preserve Abaye's pshat, tani dmei chiti. You have to amend our Mishnah and have it say dmei chiti. Again, the Gemara asks, shani moichron, that I'm selling you, shemachartim lachama bali, you sold it to me, not that I sold you. So again, the Gemara says, fine, we amend our Mishnah tani shemachartim lacha, I sold it to you. But then it says, Arichi techasuyas alai b'shloishim dinarim, the wheat is going to be worth 30 dinar. So mi koranami achiu k'mine iloi. So you start off with the same price. Achi karmelei. This is what is meant in the Mishnah. B'mechi techash asita alai b'shloishim dinar, with the money value of the wheat worth 30 dinar. But the Mishnah said, "Arei lecha et sleep by yain v'yain ein lo," and v'habediner zav akur v'chein ashar ktoni. Completely not the way Abaye is learning. Ela Amar Rava. Rava says this parish of Abaye does not explain our Mishnah properly. And kishchiva rovishoi nafik levosi. He said, when I die, Rav Ashaya is the Gan Eden is going to come towards me, Dimitratzna Mastis and Kavosei, who's going to explain our Mishnah like me, and that's the correct way. And we're going to see soon what it is. Now, I want to quote Shulchan Aruch Yoreh Deah, Kuf Samech Gimel. Amar lo alveni mana. You say to somebody, loan me $100. Amar lo shein lo mana lechitim. I don't have 100. I have weed. I can give you $100 of weed. The kana chitim b'mana. So the guy with the $100. No, the kana chitim b'mana kefi ashar, and there was a price, a market price, and he bought $100 worth of weed. But the chazar v'lachem even a petition, he gave him 90 back. In parela b'sof shavim mana b'peiris. If he pays back at least $100 worth of peiros, mutter. But in pareh b'mos, if he only forget about peiros, he uses money, otzer. He's moving money in this fashion and providing ribas, even though it's not. He's masking it as a transaction. And avalchoiv zeina botel umotzei malvim aloy v'kidin. The malva can get the remaining $10 back in court. Okay, that's not a forward contract. We'll go through the details of a forward contract, how to do it in a permissible way as we go on. We'll see what the teretz of Rava is. That may give us a better understanding.
Tomorrow, what time?
Okay, tomorrow, we have it minchas now 7:30. So we can learn at 6 o'clock or 9 o'clock. Would you prefer to learn earlier? Do you tell me what is the consensus?
I'm okay, anyway.
Anyway, George, are you okay with 6 o'clock?
I can try.
Abe, is 6 o'clock good for you?
Yes, it is.
Okay, Walter, is 6 o'clock good for you?
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll do it so that way we won't have to learn that late, and we'll be done before Mincha Myers.
Okay.
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 Good night,
Have
everybody.
a good
Very
night,
much.
everybody.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Night.